At the end of 2024, I made my State of the Collection video, and for the most part, it was really well received. For that video, I had to find all my watches, and it made me realize I have a ton of watches. There's a ton that I wasn't wearing, a ton that I just kind of fell out of love with. For 2025, I've decided that I want to get rid of a lot of my watches, and so I've already sold 4 of my watches, 3 of them being Seiko's, and I sold my Elgin. I gave one to my mom, the Tissot. And so now we're roughly around 12 watches, but I'd like to continue to downsize going into 2025. This doesn't mean that I don't want to bring in new watches and make new videos. I keep wanting to do that because it's really fun. But it does mean that I want to shift my resources, if you will. I'll put money towards new watches that I haven't tried, new brands. I want to get away from Seiko. I've bought so many Seikos. I've just been looking at some more brands recently, and this video is just going to be talking about what brands I'm excited to try out in 2025. If you're new here, my name's Keanu Carey. I really like wristwatches, and so this channel is kind of my creative outlet just to talk about them. I also make a lot of videos documenting my collecting journey, so if that's something you're into, consider subscribing and make sure you like this video because that shows me what people want to see. But without further ado, let's get into the watches that I want to get. First up, I want to get an Orient. I think an Orient would be really cool. I've heard a lot about them, and originally I'd written them off as just like a Seiko sub-brand. But what I learned more after doing some more research is that Orient is a sub-brand of Seiko Epson, but Seiko Epson is like a printing company. They don't actually make watches. People get that confused with Seiko watches, and Seiko watches is the watch brand we all know and love. And I'm not wearing a watch. Hold on. I was gonna say like the Seiko I'm wearing. These are Seiko watches, but there's also a Seiko Epson which makes printing stuff, and then Orient is a sub brand of that. I really want to try out the Orient Bambino in 38. I always want to be supporting watches that are for smaller wrists because I think that they're cool. I like how Orient offers these smaller watches in both like white and then cream color, not like straight up colorful, like girly colors. Another watch that I've seen a bunch on Watch YouTube is the Zelos. Any Zelos, I like the Nova 37. I love all the divers. They always have the most unique dials. But when I go to buy one or when I go to look at their website, it always says that they're sold out. And it's always the cool ones they're sold out of too. So I just haven't gotten a chance to try one. Another micro brand that I really want to see more of is Baltic. So I saw a Baltic at the watch shop I used to work at. I'm a little confused about Baltic. I haven't made up my mind yet. The one I got to try out was the one with the micro rotor, the dress watch. I forgot the name of it, but it's like 39 millimeters dress watch. It has the micro rotor in the back. It's a really nice watch. It's only like $500, and it was really popular at one point. When I tried it on, I was a little confused because it felt very cheap. It's really hard to describe it because in person it looked really fantastic. Like the looks held up what it looks like online. Like it looked really well done. But when I held it, the case felt light and the movement felt heavy, or maybe the case felt heavy and the movement felt light. There was something that was wrong about the weight of the watch. If you've ever picked up like a quartz watch and you know how like they have the spacers inside, the plastic spacers that make them way weird, that's kind of how I felt about the Baltic. But overall, I want to handle them more because the one time I picked it up, it wasn't a very strong first impression. There is this other micro brand that I've been wanting to try. It's called CW or Christopher Ward. They're getting to the point where they're not really a micro brand, they're more of an independent watch brand, but I see them as cool. So their big thing is that they offer a lot of value for the price, and they're just really well made, high quality watches. You can ask anyone that's handled one and they'll always tell you like, oh my god, they're so well made. And I believe them. I don't think they're lying about it. But the problem is that CW doesn't have any brand to it. There's no emotion, there's no storytelling when I look at a CW. Like that, when you see the moon watch, you're like, yeah, that's the watch that went to the moon. And when you see the Rolex sub, you're like, that's the watch that can dive, like that's what its purpose is. It's meant for that. Whether people use them for those things or not is irrelevant. That's the story and the emotion that's behind it. With CW, there's none of that. It's just a watch that's really well made. And that's what some people are looking for. But for me, I like to see stories in my watches. Like this watch, to anyone else, it's just a boring old watch. But to me, it was a $1 Seiko I found in the garage sale. It started my collecting journey for the most part. This watch is special to me because it has its own story and emotion to me, and CW doesn't have any of that really. I heard somewhere that their whole thing is cutting out the marketing, and so you're just getting the best watch for the best price. And it's like, well, to me, marketing has value. I really like Mike over at This Watch, That Watch. He has a ton of information and really strong opinions that marketing brings value to the table. Like there's a reason why people pay for brands because they are important, whether it is flexing or just being associated with a really cool brand. I have my mindset on 2 Christopher Wards that I would really want. I really want the 36 millimeter 12. I had the 35 millimeter PRX, and I thought that watch was amazing. If you're looking for a watch for a smaller wrist that really lives up to the hype for under $500, the Quartz PRX, that watch rocks, and I love it. And I honestly have some seller's regret about it. And I've heard a lot of people comparing the PRX for a watch double its price with the Christopher Ward. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. But honestly, if people compare it, then I think I would really like the 36 millimeter PRX. The other watch from their catalog that kind of excites me is the 36 millimeter, the like Polar GMT. It looks really slick. I think it'd be a really good alternative to the Explorer 2. One thing for me at least is the fact that the Explorer 2, the modern one, is just too big. It's like 42 millimeters, 48 lug to lug. And you're like, okay, that's kind of wearable. But then you have those maxi cases or just how Rolexes tend to wear bigger than they look. And there's no way I would get away with one. I just don't think it would look good on my wrist. But the Polar 36 millimeter GMT from Christopher Ward, I just think that would be a really slick watch. I think it would look really nice on me. In a way, I can kind of see myself treating that like an Explorer, treating it like my adventure watch. I'm not sure how I would put it, but it's weird to think that the brand from Rolex and their adventure and their like all the brand and marketing they put into that, I can kind of see myself because the CW used similar design cues. It'd be cool to get one in person so I could actually be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It is a good brand. But until then, I can't really say for certain if I like them. And that's why I really want to experience one in 2025. Oh God. So my experience with Tudor is just all over the place. I originally wanted the Black Bay 58. You see that watch, you're like, you see it everywhere on YouTube. You see it in person. It's a beautiful watch in person. I saw it when I was a server at a restaurant. Some guy had it, and I was like, man, that's a handsome watch. And he was just a super friendly guy. Probably made me like the watch more. But the watch is amazing. And so I went to the store, I tried it on, and I'm like, okay, it's a little big on my wrist. I have a 5.5 inch wrist. So the Black Bay 54, which we'll talk about, was way better. But this 58 was just like the dream watch. I was like, okay, it's affordable, it's nice, it's connected to Tudor and Rolex, good brand, good quality. It's everything I would ever want. I don't know what made me not buy it, but I never bought it. But eventually I decided that I would want the Black Bay 54 more because that watch came out. Nobody had made a sub 39 millimeter diver until the Black Bay 54. Okay, yeah, there were some brands that did it, but it wasn't as big of a deal until Tudor did it. So the Black Bay 54 just came out, Watches and Wonders. I'm like, I'm gonna buy this watch. I called up my local AD and they're like, no, we can't get that in. Like, it's like everyone wants it. I'm like, damn it. So I tried to forget about it until I went to Vietnam about 2 months later and they had the Black Bay 54. They had it. I tried it on. It fit really nice on the bracelet. I was like, okay, this is the watch. Problem was, I had just bought my Cartier Santos like 2 days before in Vietnam and I could not make two watch purchases that would be like $10,000. I just couldn't do that. It wasn't a smart financial decision. And I'm like, damn it. If I would have known that they would have had a Black Bay 54, I probably would have held off on the Cartier. I've had Tudors before, and I just really like the way that they were. I've had vintage Tudors. I had a 1940s Tudor that I really liked. I've held Tudor Submariners, and I think that they're really well made, especially the 36 millimeters if you have a smaller wrist. 36 millimeter subs are really cool. They're still really affordable, so if you ever get a chance to try one on, you really should. But I just could not shake the feeling of I want a Tudor watch. I want a Tudor diver. And the Tudor Black Bay was on my mind for a long time. I guess this would be a good time to say that I'm not exactly hoping to afford all of these watches in 2025. And that's because the last watch on my list is a super expensive watch. These watches I could not afford right now. I'm trying to pay off my college. So there's no way I'm getting one of these for myself. But if I could just handle one from a friend or a shop that I work at. Okay, this one is the Omega Planet Ocean. This was one of those watches that I just wrote off because I saw the big 42 millimeters or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, it's not going to fit my wrist. I don't even want to look at it. I don't really care. And then I saw it in the shop I worked at. And damn, it was a really well-made watch. I've handled the Omega Railmaster. That's the watch I owned. But this watch was completely different. It has that the ceramic bezel on it, which is just makes it look a little bit shinier. It had the open case back, so I really got to see the Omega movement. And Omega movements are super revered in the watch community. So to be able to finally see what I was wearing with that coaxial master chronometer movement, I was like, okay, that's really slick. But it just felt really nice, and it was really well balanced. That's another thing I want to say about it. It just was incredibly well balanced on my wrist. It was definitely oversized. It was not going to fit me anytime soon. But unlike the Baltic, it really did feel like, okay, I'm wearing like a fully fleshed out watch. I also find the design way more interesting than the Omega Seamaster 300. I've seen a lot of Seamaster 300s in my time, and they are just kind of, they don't do anything for me. I've never once looked at one and been like, that's what I want. Except for this one time, there was this dude that came into the shop. He had, the basic white and black ceramic Speedmaster, the one with the ceramic bezel and dial and lume markers. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's a really handsome watch. And then I never thought about it again. I think the Planet Ocean is just way more interesting. I think about that watch from time to time. Another thing, kind of doubling back on the story aspect of the Christopher Ward. With this Omega, I had already kind of created a story in my head. So I had seen Meg 2, and Wu Jing's character wore the Planet Ocean in that movie. And in my mind, I was like, damn, if you've seen Meg 2, it's, in my opinion, it's a badass movie. And the guy's wearing it and he's in the waves, he's around the water. It just, I think there's guns. I can't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a while. But the Omega Planet Ocean was, like, for me, probably what people watching James Bond wearing the Seamaster is. Like, for me, the Planet Ocean just looks way more badass. It's like the cooler Seamaster. And I'd love to get a Planet Ocean. I wish I had the wrist to carry one, like to actually wear it. I think the Planet Ocean is a perfect watch, but obviously that's before ever handling it really for like a long period of time. I really like that watch. I think that's it. I think that's all. Well, there's one more actually. There's the Formex Reef, the new smaller, I think it's called the Mini Reef, the 38, 39 millimeter. That watch, at first I didn't really like it, but then I saw a video from WatchBoxDiaries that did the stone dial, the blue stone dial. I was like, wow, that's pretty slick. And then I kind of learned more about how they have this spring mechanism to make them more comfortable to wear. And I'm all about comfort. Like, I wear bracelets because these are the most comfortable for my wrist. I don't find straps very comfortable, and so when I saw the Formex and I saw how, like, they prioritized all the things that I prioritize, I'm like, okay, that's really cool. I would love to handle one of those watches. I think they're really interesting, and I think that brings up one more point is that in 2025, I want to kind of open my mind up to independent brands, micro brands. I want to open my mind up to Omega because I just have really bad luck with Omega. I want to try to get a good one. I had the Real Master, which was kind of boring to me. I had two vintage ones, which just stopped working whenever I was wearing them, and that was the most frustrating thing ever. One more thing I want to talk about is that we hit 1,000 subscribers. Woohoo! It was a big achievement for me. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Been working at this for a while, and to see me hit that big number of 1,000, well, to me, it was a big number. It means I can get monetized, and YouTube gave me my first estimated revenue for the month, and it was a whopping 8 cents. So it's definitely not going to be paying for anything time soon. I thought about it one day. I was like, wow, how cool would it be if YouTube paid for my college? That's definitely not going to happen. So, but I do enjoy doing this, so I'm going to keep making these videos because they're just fun for me. But let me know what you're planning on getting in 2025. I'd love to hear different suggestions, different options. I always love learning about new watches. I had this comment with this guy, and we were talking about how, like, it's crazy that you could learn about it like 100 new watches every day and you still wouldn't even scratch the surface. It's always exciting to hear about a watch I haven't heard and to see if that's something that I would be interested in buying. If you're ready to support the channel, consider subscribing. There's affiliate links down below. If there's something that you need, please use my link, and I would love to see you in the next video. Peace.